With the president on the course and Congress on a 10-day recess, the clock is ticking toward a deadline for automatic budget cuts. The cuts, known as the sequestration, would eliminate more than $85 billion in spending this year, half from defense, half from domestic programs. The cuts take effect March 1st, unless a compromise can be reached. Bill Plante joins us from Washington with more on that. Bill, good evening.
Good evening, Jeff. You know, now that most of official Washington does believe that those spending cuts are going to happen at the beginning of March, politicians of both parties are putting more effort at fixing blame for the cuts than avoiding them. Dennis McDonough, the new White House chief of staff, said the president is dedicated to preventing the cuts, but that Republicans aren't cooperating.
What our friends in the House have told us is that they will not even consider anything that includes increased revenues, not even closing loopholes for corporate jets, closing loopholes for oil and gas companies.
With everyone out of town, there's no sense of urgency, only finger-pointing. Republicans say it's the president's fault.
We're here because the president, back in the last session of Congress, refused to cut spending in any place, and therefore we've wound up with the sequester.
Democrats blame the Republicans.
Their arguments are untenable and don't meet the favor of hardly anyone other than themselves and the few whose special interests they're protecting.
The long-term consequences of the spending cuts could be severe. At risk, tens of thousands of federal government jobs, from food safety inspectors to law enforcement agents, Head Start childhood education, small business loans, and, most controversial, $46 billion less in defense spending.
We're going to begin to unravel the finest military in the history of the world at a time we need it most.
The Defense Department cuts range from the furloughing of workers on Fridays to reducing aircraft carrier groups in the Persian Gulf. With the Middle East in turmoil and Iran working to acquire nuclear weapons, South Carolina Republican Lindsey Graham warns that this is the wrong time for cutbacks.
I think we should, in bipartisan fashion, stop sequestration before it, in the words of the Secretary of Defense, destroys the Pentagon.
Now, if there's any silver lining in this mess, it is that the cuts would phase in gradually, so that if the two parties could find agreement after a few weeks or maybe even months, a lot of the damage could probably be undone. Jeff?
Bill Plante, thank you.